Hello, and welcome to the Straight to the Source podcast. I'm Tanya Barr.
And I'm Lucy Allen, and we're looking forward to taking you straight to the source of the people driving our food and hospitality industry forward.
From Hamsi Taverna, Anison, and Meydanaz in Sydney, all the way to Effendi in Istanbul. Somer Sivrioğlu stands at the crossroads of media, culinary tradition, and modern hospitality. He's feeding diners, shaping chefs, and navigating two cultures in real time. Today's episode is proudly brought to you by our friends at Unox Australia, industry leaders in cutting-edge kitchen technology and innovation. Well, Somer, welcome.
Nice to be back.
Oh, it is so nice to have you back in Australia, and it's really wonderful to catch up. We've known each other quite a long time.
Definitely, from good old Effendi days, huh?
That's it. That's it. In fact, right before you opened Effendi from Piermont Growers Market, I think.
Oh my God, it's that long ago.
We spent many a day standing in the rain together on the first Saturday
the
of the
famous
month.
Saturday rain between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
That's it.
at
That's
Piermont
it.
Growers Market.
So you're here now. I mean, you've just opened Hamsi.
Yes.
So
yes.
tell me what that's all about, and what has that been like opening that venue at the Sydney fish markets from Turkey?
It's been incredible. I'm blessed with two great partners, as you know, Fatih, who has been with me since day one at Effendi, and with Berk, who has been with the company for a while as well. And although he was working in finance, he came and worked with us on the weekends as a bartender. So it's a great feel to work alongside with two brothers and to open up Hamsi, because, as you said, I've done that project from far away, 15,000 kilometers away in Turkey with in a very busy schedule. So it's a dream come true, to be honest, because I always loved fish market, but I always thought, I live in Piermont as well, I always thought, like, how come this place doesn't have the vibe that so many farmers markets and fish markets have in Europe and in America? And finally we have something that can test them, in my opinion, that can exceed them.
So walk me through the concept, if you will.
It is a Mediterranean Aegean concept.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we eat in Turkey. I mean, that's the lesser known part of the Turkish cuisine. In Australia, we all know the kebabs and baklavas and the beautiful pastries and things like that. But if you go to the Aegean side, it is not that far from any of the Greek islands, any of the Italian coast, the Amalfi Coast. It's exactly how we eat in there, because that's what the nature blesses us with: olive oils, wines, fresh fruits, tomatoes, cucumbers, feta cheese, things like that, much lighter, and definitely a lot of fish, and smaller fish. Obviously, being an inland sea, Mediterranean and Aegean, it's much smaller fish than we are used to here in Australia with the ocean.
And you're also, let's talk about charcoal.
Yes.
That plays a big role.
That
Hamsi?
was one of my biggest surprises when I came to Australia many, many years ago, that the fish was not done on charcoal. It was done in any medium, but on charcoal. We are so blessed to have someone like Josh Nyland doing that for the first time. But for anyone that is coming from my neck of woods, that was no surprise. It's great that someone championed it and did it. But, if I ever open a seafood restaurant, my main style of cooking will be charcoal and oven baking, wood fire oven baking. And that's what we are doing at Hamsi.
So from a seafood perspective, how are you? You've always been very much an advocate for local producers and really wanting to know the processes behind the ingredients you're sourcing.
Yes.
And you're using line-caught mackerel, is that right?
That's correct. And it's an incredible product. I love mackerel, but I love the line-caught mackerel in Australia more than any other.
So what is it you like about it?
It's fishy. That's the thing that I find it so hard. Like, we never complain of chicken being chickeny or a meat being meaty, but everyone says, oh, it's too fishy. Well, it's a fish. So, so if you don't want to eat fish, eat something else.
So how are you preparing it? Over charcoal?
On a charcoal,
Yeah.
definitely on a charcoal. But it's getting also, we have a takeaway and it's been very popular. So we also pan fry it if it gets too hot in the on the charcoal, because we have so many dishes. Because traditionally, the fish sandwiches that we do in Turkey, they are done on a boat, on a flat grill, or a pan fry it very quickly, dusted with flour, and then served with great broccoli and red onions and things like that. So we are trying to do that here in Australia, in Sydney.
So, Hamsi, developing the menu from afar and really looking at each dish, have you engaged other producers here in Australia to create bespoke ingredients or products for you?
Yeah, I mean, we work with the Hungarian local baker, because the Hungarian bread and Turkish bread has so many similarities.
Okay.
So we're working with a local producer on that side. Obviously, being in fish market, we work with all the providers in fish market. And quite often we ask them, like, what is fresh? What do you have available? Because we love cooking fresh fish. So off the menu, we always have smaller fish like yellowtails and things like that. And leather jackets. So we have much smaller fish that are quite tasty, and we don't consume it as much in Australia as much as we do in the Aegean and Mediterranean coast.
So what do you think of the new precinct, the new Sydney Fish Market?
I love it. One, I've been away from that whole thing about the fish market, because I've been away in Turkey most of the bulk of the last 3 years. So, I was quite away. So when I see it, I said, great, whatever happened before, it's nothing of my concern, but I really love it.
It's a beautiful structure.
It is a beautiful structure. I know that there has been a lot of debate about it, which I'm not knowledgeable enough to have an opinion about it, but I love where we are, because we are on the quieter end of it, because the fish market can get really busy, especially during the main trading times, during lunchtime until early afternoon. But we are on the quieter Blackwattle Bay part. So if you are doing your shopping, do everything, you can come with your bags, park your bags at the door, and then have a much serene environment overlooking to the lovely trees at the Blackwattle Bay.
Oh, I can't wait to get there.
Please do.
Won't be long, I promise you. It's interesting you mentioned kebab just earlier. I remember when you first opened Effendi, it was, 2007?
2007 is when we opened,
And it was one of your missions to kind of change Australia's perception of the late night kebab.
Yeah.
And you've done that. Or do you, actually, let me back up. Do you feel you've done that? Did you achieve it?
No, look, I never say I've done it. I think we had a lot of progress on it. The Turkish food is much better known than since we opened in 2007. When I first opened Effendi, it was an Italian restaurant, very successful Italian restaurant before us, by my good friend Danny Russo and people that took over from him, called L'Unica. People might remember that. And when we took over, there were customers coming in, and when we say Turkish food, they were blatantly saying, why are you doing Turkish food in such a nice restaurant? So that was heartbreaking, but I'm a fighter. So we kept on it, and we changed the perception to a certain extent. Now when we look at it, it's just, and it's not only me, it's my contemporaries as well. Obviously, before us, there was Sheriff Kaya with his Ottoman cuisine in Canberra, and after us, there have been incredible Turkish, second generation Turkish chefs that have changed, like Ibrahim Kashif doing Istanbul. And then obviously the Pazar was a great example as well by Attila. And then in Melbourne, Joshkun and Kemal did great jobs with Tulum and Lezzet. So it has been, we were quite lucky to be in that group, and I was very lucky to change that perception to a certain extent, that Turkish food is not just about kebabs. Don't get me wrong, I love kebabs. Like when I'm in Turkey, I eat kebabs 5 nights a week. But when it's done right, so it's not a late night food in Turkey, it's a main meal. But in answering your question, to showcase the doner kebab, we are still working on a project. We gave it a go, but the area wasn't right. We still want to do our own doner kebab and consume it with the beer as a main meal, as opposed to an after drinks concept. So it's still something that I'm passionate about to do in Sydney.
So let's go through your venues. How many venues do you have in Australia now?
Currently, we have 3. We have Anason at Barangaroo, which is a meze bar, so it's drinking wine and like lovely Turkish mezes by the water. And we have Maydanoz, which is a plant-driven restaurant. I don't want to call it vegetarian because we have non-vegetarian dishes, but it's a restaurant that if you are a vegetarian and vegan, you can find a lot of options, and we can do set menus for you as well. So it's quite a vegetable-driven concept, and it's not something we created. It's something that again we eat on the northern Aegean part of Turkey. Pretty much most of the households in Turkey, the meat is almost used as a flavoring. So it's always the vegetables that are the heroes of the dishes. So we wanted to reflect that in Maydanoz. And then finally, the latest project and the biggest project we ever done is Hamsi, which is mainly fish-driven Mediterranean restaurant in the concept and in spirit as well. And then we have Effendi in Istanbul. So unfortunately, Effendi in Balmain, after it's sold, we decided to move out. And it was world's longest moving restaurant, from Sydney to Istanbul. So straight after when we closed in Effendi, in Balmain, we opened up in Istanbul. But since then, our customers and us are so passionate to open it again. So we are looking at few sites. That might be a great surprise pretty soon. So I really want to bring back Effendi because that's how it all started. We don't want to be in a city where we don't have Effendi.
What is that like when you think about Effendi in Istanbul, the customers and the menus? Is the menu similar to what it was here in Sydney, or is it different?
Yeah, undeniably, it's a very similar menu to what we used to do at Effendi Balmain. And the biggest compliment that I get is from Australians, Turkish Australians or Australians coming to the restaurant saying, this is exactly like Effendi Balmain. So if anyone comes that has been to Effendi Balmain and when they say that, that's the biggest compliment because that's what we wanted to do. It's a very different restaurant to what the Turks are used to, because in Turkey we go out either for kebabs or for fish or for drinking, so for mezes. This is a proper chef's restaurant, which is a much fresher concept to Turkey, to Istanbul, than it is in here. So it is pretty much just the younger sister of Effendi Balmain. So it has so much similarities. So hopefully one day you come to Turkey and you try it and you will feel the same.
It is on my bucket list for sure.
Lovely.
Sure. Now, when you were at Effendi is when you wrote this book.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? I remember the launch and you gifted me this book. And it's just, it's just representing where you were at the time.
Yeah.
And do memories just flood back when you look at this?
That's a lot of memories, mainly because that's the first edition. So you don't have many of those around. The new one is much smaller and concise, but more importantly than that, unfortunately, we lost David Dale last year. So every time I look at it, I get emotional, especially now that I'm here in Sydney and I wasn't here when he passed away. So condolences. He's a great loss to the food culture in Australia.
Yes,
he's one of the serious journalist that was very passionate about food, Italian food mainly. So before we did this book together, he did all of Lucio's books. Buon Riccardo, he worked with Armando with Buon Riccardo. This is the first non-Italian cookbook that we did together, and I'm so lucky if this book is successful. The great credit goes to our late friend David Dale.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
And his attention to detail, and he was incredibly thorough and articulate.
He's a journalism professor as well. And yeah, so he challenged me more than anyone did
Did he?
about Turkish food, you know. So the general conversation was always about why, like why. I just say I don't know. Ask my mom, like. And the best thing that happened when we wrote the book is the first place that we went was Gaziantep, which will be the most traditional part of the journey that we had for like 3 months together. And when we land in there, we went to the first dinner that we went was a female restaurateur, which is quite rare in that area because it's sort of a conservative area. And when we were talking about it, she was telling us about one of the dishes called yuvalama. So it's a very small, smaller than a pea size rice balls, and the whole village will make it together. And then the elderly woman will tell stories to everyone else so they can pass the time. And when she told us that story, David said that this is exactly how we're going to do this book. Every recipe will have a story. Like it's not going to be like, story about a region, then 6-7 recipes. So it's quite a unique book in that sense that every recipe we put in there needed to have a very good story. And he was amazing in crafting those stories.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, a tremendous loss.
Wow.
And your mother had a big influence on you, didn't she?
Very much so. And I mean, she is credited in the book, and she has a beautiful, very colorful picture of her as pretty much like, her clothes reflect her style in life as well. And she was, again, a rare breed of female chefs in Turkey, opening up meyhanes, meza restaurants. And then I pretty much did my stage with her, the longest underpaid stage ever. But unfortunately, you cannot take your mom to court.
No, that's
for child labor. So yeah, but I worked with her from a young age, around 16, 17. I was working with her.
You know what I just remembered many years ago, because she taught you reading the cups.
Yeah.
Reading the coffee. And you and I were having coffee. And afterwards, you took my cup. You did my reading.
Okay.
In the cup, and you told me that your mother actually taught you that.
Yeah. She's very, very in touch with the spirits, So, so I don't have her gift. I don't think I have.
I don't think. Have you not been reading other people's coffee cups lately?
Look, I'm imaginative. So I can read it, but not to her success. Like her, she's very well known in her village. So when I say village, don't think of a small Anatolian village. She lives in almost like a Côte d'Azur style of village, but she's very popular in that village in Bodrum. That people would come to her and ask for her to read their cup, and she only does it, if she feels it. And things that I learned from her is the bleaker you are, the better. So what you say is, this is going to happen to you in 3 times. So it can be 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years, 3 decades. So, then you are safe.
You got a large
scope. So you have a large scope. And she's an amazing cup reader.
So how is it living back in Turkey? And I mean, Turkey MasterChef has just gone off. So how have you adjusted to that? And has that changed your life? It's
amazingly, it has changed my life. 8 years I've been doing it, and every year I said, look, this is going to be it, because it's quite consuming. It's not, don't think about like Australian MasterChef. We have 200 episodes a year. It's on TV every night, and it's 3 hours per episode. So it's a very long gazing and asking the same questions in 5 different ways and trying to get the emotions. I even need to slow down my talking because normally I talk a lot faster. It takes quite long, but I love it because it has been very influential in Turkey. Before I did MasterChef Turkey, I thought the Turkish people know their food very well. What I learned is they know their regional food very well, but most of them are not aware from what's happening in any other region, like 3 hours away from their city.
Is that right?
So that was a great opportunity, because in Turkey, without going to too many different regions, you can just have it all in your home on your TV, learning about how the other regions cook. Because the only way that a regional dish comes from one region to the other is through the brides. So if someone gets married from one region to the other, they come in there and they show it to them. But if you just talking in a very blatantly term, nowadays you can find everything everywhere, but the east of Turkey is more about butter, and the west of Turkey is all about olive oil. West of Turkey is all about herbs and fresh herbs and vegetables, and east is all about dry herbs, spices, and bread, because it's much colder. So people seeing those differences, and also learning about the food of different cultures. The funniest thing is, if you talk to anyone in Turkey, they will call me an Asian food expert. Only because I said there's nothing called Asian food. There are countries, and they are all different food cultures. And everyone says to me in Turkey, "Wow, you know so much about Asian food." It's just, unfortunately, I don't know anything as much as all our talented chefs from the region know, but I know that there are different countries in Asia, so you don't have anything called Asian food. So that makes me a Turkish food expert on Asian food.
Well, it's interesting giving all of your history and your experience. And you recently wrote an article about mother sauces. So let's talk about French techniques, and I have no doubt that all of that expertise, when you're judging on MasterChef, you can, share your knowledge and inspire others to kind of cast the net out further than their region.
Yes.
So the mother sauces.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's something that's quite, obviously they're taught in culinary schools, but I wanted all the people at home that it's not anything to be scared of. You can do all of them with really basic ingredients. It's just different techniques and doing all of that. So while we are doing the education, the culinary education in Turkey is exactly like in here. It's a French education system, which sometimes, although I did an article about the mother sauces, I also said in that we need to teach our students the Turkish mother sauces as well, because we have all of those. But it's very important to learn other cultures' food properly before we start to work on them. So not only about the French cuisine, but about we are quite lucky with the Italian cuisine, because my comrade, the other chef that I work together, Danilo, is Italian born, so he does more than enough Italian food on MasterChef Turkey. But with other ones, I try to highlight as much as international food as the Turkish food as well. So for the students and the people that are enthusiastic about the food to learn.
Well, Le Cordon Bleu is very popular in Istanbul.
Very much
and
so.
I did a live cooking demo to the students.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Yes, and that was quite a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago,
really
5
good
years
students
ago.
too. Yeah.
And they were so passionate. And the head teacher, we were having a chat afterwards, and I said, "What are the students? Where are they getting their inspiration?" And she said that they're all watching MasterChef. And then I said, "Oh, I know Somer." And then it went in this rabbit hole that her dad knew your mom, and there was all this conversation.
Her dad was actually my teacher.
Okay, that's
at university. So
you know who I'm...
Yeah, of course I know who you are speaking of.
Small world.
And I rather we don't talk about her dad being when she's the head of the department, and her dad was my teacher. That shows my age, I guess.
Okay.
But he's an amazing guy. He's still up until 3 years ago, he was still teaching. He was around 85 years old.
Is that right?
Now he's retired. He's one of the pillars of Turkish tourism. So, and I'm very happy that his daughter is now heading the department.
Yes, yes. That's
great,
wonderful.
great.
I have quite an affiliation with them.
Yeah. Great.
Go.
Yeah, no, I know you have a affiliation with Cordon Bleu, but I didn't know that you've done it in Turkey as well. That's interesting.
Oh, well, I would love to do a quick fire. Are you up for a really fast quick fire question?
Let's go.
One flavor Australians need to be braver with.
Sumak.
The ingredient you'll never compromise on.
Lamb.
The Turkish dish you never modernize, no matter what.
Kebabs, traditional Adana kebab.
The biggest myth about Turkish food.
It's all about meat and bread.
One thing you wish Australian diners would stop doing in Turkish restaurants.
Oh, interesting. Maybe it's finishing, like treating dips as entrees. In Turkish restaurants, we don't treat dips as entrees. So dips come onto the table. Generally, when you look at it, like things like hummus, baba ganoush, cacık, they stay on the table. So you don't remove them. So when they come to my restaurant and they said, okay, we'll order hummus for the entree.
Mm-hmm.
You can clear it now, then you can. I said, let's keep it in there.
Yeah.
They're still in there. So it's more of like family sharing. There was an article by a journalist saying that, I don't know, when is this sharing culture of food will finish? And my opposition to that was, it's just like, if that is the culture, it should never finish. It's just like, I understand that it's not the culture of every restaurant, like French, for example, again. But, Turkish culture is like that. Things come onto the table and they stay in there until the dessert comes. So, just taking a bite from everything, mopping up with the bread, and then, using the hummus that you ordered at the beginning together with the lamb that you are finishing your meal with. That is the way that I like people to eat.
And that's the story, isn't it? And
It
it's
is.
respecting the ingredient and the story behind.
Very much so. And that's how it is done.
Experience.
I mean, it is done like that for a reason, because it needs to stay on the table for 2-3 hours during the dinner.
So how are you finding living in, it's like you live in two universes.
Yeah.
And yes, they're very married together, but how are you managing your family and relationships and, business relationships as well as personal relationships?
With as much finesse as I can do, but I cannot say that I'm doing it so successfully, because I mean, just the time difference itself, it's really crazy. 7 hours difference in between two countries. Especially in Turkey, I find the pressure a lot more because I wake up and I used to have my phone next to me, so now I'm used to it not having it next to me. I don't put it in my bedroom. I leave it in the living room. So I take 1 hour every morning to wake up, meditate, have a coffee, then look at my phone. Because when I look at phone, the people who send the messages are in a total different time zone, total different urgencies. Because if I start it like that, I cannot start my day properly. That's how I separate it. Like where I wake up for the first 1 hour, I don't look at the phone because there's always a drama. It's just like something has happened, someone has called, we need to get back to them really urgently. The time is passing, it's almost 5 p.m. in here. So there is one thing that I try to do as much as I can. Family, I'm luckier because my kids are now 20 and 18, so they can travel. My daughter was with me 2 years ago. My son comes every year because he found a Turkish girlfriend. I'm quite lucky. Okay. So I would love to take the credit for him for coming and visiting me so often, but I need to be realistic about it. So that makes him visit Turkey every year. And I'm very happy because he's also learning Turkish. I think it's a great luxury that, Australia gave us that, especially my kids, they are my ex-partner was Turkish as well, and although we spoke Turkish at home, they're Australians, but they're also quite welcoming of the Turkish culture as well. So I'm very happy that they grow in a culture like that.
Well, you've always been so community focused as well, and you've done a lot. The earthquake fundraiser that you did here in Sydney.
We all did.
We all did. I mean, I remember your son walking my hampers to the car for me. But it was such. You went in and you could just feel the energy and the love and care for community and what's going on in the world, and you're using your powers for good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if I told this before in an interview, but that happened only 3 days after I came to Australia. And my first reflex was, I'm flying back. I need to be there. Because all my friends, all the chefs were the first people that went into the area. I get really emotional with that as well, sorry. But I said, I can do a lot more in here, in Australia, because there's a special bond between Australians and Turks. And the emotions that I went through during that time, I never felt that any other time, and I never felt more proud to be Australian than at that time, because people were coming and buying everything. How did they run us out of everything? And for the first time, I was very happy that I couldn't catch up with the demand and I couldn't service it as well as I could. There was a man, I assume he was a Turkish man. He called me, and he was quite a scary looking man, I'll be honest. And he said, come over here, brother. I said, what's up? I thought he was going to complain about something because we were smoking the whole place and it was on a Sunday, huge crowd. I was waiting for the police to come to say, why is the smoke coming from here? So I said, come here, brother. I went in there, and he just gave me a big, handful of cash, probably more than $700-800 in there. And I said, take this. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know why he had so much cash loose like that. That's none of my business. But the generosity from people and everyone else, they are trusting us, coming and spend their money. And then after that, it even got a lot bigger than I thought, because Joanna Saville, a good friend of ours that we know from Piermont Growers Market Days, she said, look, let's do something for the people who want to spend money and that want to contribute. So within 2 days, we were speaking to Colin and the Rockpool Group, and we had any chef that is like all the celebrity chefs like Manu. I don't want to name everyone, otherwise I'm going to miss someone. But, Manu was there, Colin was there, Shane Delia was there, Matt Preston was emceeing it. And this was all done for the charity, $1,000 a ticket, sold out in 10 minutes. It was one of the biggest set of Australian celebrities in there. And everyone that I called said yes without even asking. And how
does that make you feel?
It's just
given that you're living in 2 different countries, but at any time when you're here, you have this enormous community of friends that care about.
Look, I'm an immigrant. Okay, I will always be Turkish in heart, because I only came here when I was 22 years old. I am as Turkish as my kids are Australian. So I always call myself Turkish Australian. Mm-hmm. But I never felt more Australian than that day. It's just, I said, this is my place, this is my community. And I never felt as included as I felt that day, and never as proud as I felt as an Australian. So it was a very special night for me. Yeah.
Giving me goosebumps and tearing me up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for just doing what you're doing and sharing your story with us, and for your friendship.
No, thank you. And thank you to everyone in Australia if I'm ever, success is a perceptual thing, but if I'm ever successful, it is because of this country and the opportunities that it gave me. And it's people like you that accepted us as ourselves, so and we are very lucky to be in this country. So yeah, I love Australia.
Well, I love Australia too, and I've harvested some beautiful herbs and some chilies and limes from my tree. So I might, as you leave the studio, send you off with a bit of a care package. Is that okay?
I'm going to take some of them because I'm opening up the takeaway shop today.
Okay.
And someone told me that we only have 2 salads; they don't have the third salad.
Oh, there
so
you
I need
go,
to go
brother.
and do some mint salad with that. So.
Terrific. All righty. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for listening in. We really hope you enjoyed the conversation.
We would be keen to hear from you if you have a story to share or a topic we should bring into our conversations. And a special thank you to Unox Australia for their support in this series, where leadership meets the future of food.